Just tell me, how was dinner?
Dinner was a lot of fun. It was Freilach, as Mom would say.
No, actually, what I found to be really weird was that at lunch today, which was like egg salad and tuna salad on challah rolls, Mom made it so formal we weren't allowed to sit at the table and start serving ourselves until every single guest had arrived. We had to wait like 45 minutes extra. But then tonight at dinner, she's like, let's just sit down and eat some picadillo and not wait for Danielle. And we were finished dinner by the time she came because no one wanted to wait the extra 10 minutes. It was so weird.
Mom loves a formal setup for a meal.
Yes, but then tonight she was all just like every man for himself.
Here we are, and welcome to a very special episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. On this episode, this is our last episode before All-Star Comic-Con. So, Lily and Becky are together in Philadelphia, and we're just going to give a regular Friday Night Movie Weekly episode, and it's going to be a lot of fun. How are you guys doing?
Jet lagged.
Great.
All right, jet lagged and great. Now, there's a lot going on this weekend. In addition to All-Star Comic-Con, it is Dad's birthday, Dad's 70th birthday, and it is Mom and Dad's anniversary number, which I don't remember because we are the worst.
44, I think?
We are the worst at celebrating their anniversary. And how are they gearing up for the excitement of us celebrating their anniversary by us having a booth at a Comic-Con?
Fetching. Lots of
sarcasm.
Lots of fetching. I gotta tell you, if they kvetch after all that we're doing for them this weekend, I'm sending them the bill for what it's costing.
Right, because they don't know that in addition to all the work we've put into getting the booth ready and everything like that, we have actually
so nice of you to say we and pretend to include me. Thank you.
I always include you, Becky. I sign your name on the presents.
Except for that time you didn't.
Except for that one time you didn't sign our names.
any of our names.
We know exactly.
You threw us under the bus on Mother's Day.
No, but that's different.
Never again.
That wasn't one where I signed Lily's name and not your name. That was
you didn't sign either one of our names.
That's one where I went solo. That's different in this situation. And so they don't know that we've actually done things for them, and by the time that this episode drops, they still won't know what we've done for them. So I think it'll be interesting to report back next week on what their reaction was to the celebration that we have planned for them. What do you think?
Yeah.
You think they'll like it, or do you think it'll
Oh, I think they're gonna like it.
I'm sure they'll like it. I'm sure they'll kvetch.
If they kvetch, then they will be forced to come to the Fishbone concert with me.
That's punishment enough for anyone.
Okay.
You have correctly not included me in that activity, right?
Correct.
Yes, it is just me and Alba.
I'm gonna go. I think it said I'll take a bubble bath and go to bed early. Maybe read a magazine.
Wash your hair.
We know I need to do that.
So, we've got some movies to talk about. That's our bits this week. We've got a couple of cool movies to talk about. The first being Aladdin, and then we're going to talk in detail about Eliza Sherman's Revenge, which I mentioned in the previous episode. Lily looks a little confused, though. People can't see the camera at home, but Lily is genuinely confused, it looks like. What, are you okay?
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
It's your problem that you want to film us while we talk to you, because now you have both of us secretly talking to each other while you're talking.
Why don't you just text each other?
So we just mute you and just secret podcast over here.
Okay, so Aladdin. We did an episode a while ago where we looked at that. We talked about that trailer with the blue Will Smith.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we need a new.
We trashed Blue Will Smith. We trashed him.
We destroyed it.
It looked like an abomination in that trailer.
That trailer. This is exactly I don't know that trailer. We owe that trailer, and I Told You show.
Exactly. So is it the trailer? Who gets the I Told You show? Because I won't bury the lead any further.
Disney.
I loved Aladdin. Loved it.
That was one of the best.
We're flipping out of your skin texting
I
about
clapped at the end of the movie.
People, like, the audience clapped him multiple times during the movie.
What's funny is
all of them know what's going to happen. So it's
I read
probably
a scathing review of it.
It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. The person has no heart.
person
It doesn't make
probably
sense.
liked the
So
Last
I would
Jedi.
tell you what, since I read this terrible review, but I have your glowing reviews, I would like to ask a series of questions to reconcile some points that come up.
That's a great way for us to do this. Fire
Great.
away, Beck.
Okay, first question. The huge complaint in this article was that the new songs were boring and terrible and stupid.
Okay.
No
agreed.
way. I honestly play
definitely-
Speechless. I play Speechless.
I definitely don't care about the new songs, even though one of them made Shy tear up. I don't care, but I'm super pleased that they're very short. So you're just like listening to them for a few minutes and then it moves on. It's not like it takes up 5 minutes in the movie.
Let's be clear. Speechless does not let it go, but I also have played it every day and like power sang along to it in the car.
Speechless is like the one that's like maybe you could get away with, but I just wish it wasn't Speechless. I wish she just was called it Quiet or Silence.
I don't know. I like the
I don't know. I feel like
in the
Speechless is a very
soundtrack, which
gruesome word to say in a song.
in the soundtrack, which
but
we own.
It's no Let It Go. It's fine. It doesn't need to. Why do we need another Let It Go? There's already one.
No, it's great. Jasmine gets a song. It's about women's empowerment. It's about her not being silenced
the fact
by the
that they
patriarchy.
turn the Jasmine character on her head and like make her have actual point to her is very cool.
I mean,
So,
give her the Iron Throne. Forget Bran.
seriously.
Okay, next question. It's a two-parter. One is that every actor except for Will Smith was terrible and boring, and that the characters did not have chemistry. True or false?
False. I'll tell you why. Sorry, I'm just going to take this one. That Aladdin guy, Masood, what's it?
Mina
Masood?
Oh,
Mina
guy.
Masood?
Mina Masood? I don't know, he's from Ontario.
Is he really?
He's from Canada. He's Canadian.
Wow. I would believe that.
Mena, I don't know how you pronounce his name. Mena. Whatever. Okay, so he comes on.
Mina's from Miami.
Right.
Mena might be the
Right.
one.
Okay, so he comes on the screen, Becky, for the first time, and I was like captivated by him. He looks as if somebody turned the cartoon into a human.
Right, it's like you think he's CGI for a second.
You think he's CGI. He is cast so perfectly, like his face really looks like Aladdin. Plus, he's delicious. He is so cute. He's so charismatic. He has a great voice. So I was like, I literally turned to Mom within seconds of the movie starting, and I was like, what?
Pass me a pen. You write notes.
One jump. Head
Becky
of the jump.
decided she wants to write notes because she cares about the podcast all of a sudden. So so yeah, I thought he was adorable. I turned to Mom and I was like, how did they find the real Aladdin to make this movie? And she's like, I know, he's adorable.
Yeah.
So completely wrong. The first time he meets Jasmine, I was like, there is some Jamie Claire chemistry here. I was like, I want a sex scene. I want this movie to be R-rated. So I definitely thought there was chemistry. She is gorge. Like, I feel like Jonathan Ness, who gave you so much permission? Like, who gave you permission to be this beautiful?
Unsettlingly beautiful.
She is, like, exactly. She's I would only say her beauty's distracting from the movie. Because you're like, how do they make a human this beautiful? And her voice is amazing, and she's cute, and they're both really short. So that person, again, completely wrong.
Yeah.
And Will Smith does blow you out of the water fantastic. But that's a whole other section.
Yeah, and
Wait,
I'll just add, so I'm going to hold talking about my favorite character momentarily, but let's just say of the original...
Because they cast that monkey really well, too.
Of the original characters, let's also add the role of her father was played beautifully.
Yeah.
I loved the portrayal of the father. Naveed, I want to try to pronounce the names right. Naveed, what's his last name? Man, my IMDb is acting all up. Anyways, Naveed.
So was our pronunciation tonight.
Yeah. Whew. Either way, he was absolutely wonderful, and it was like I wanted to hug him. And I could feel how much he loved his daughter. He wasn't just that like roly-poly, like out of touch buffoon that they make him in the movie.
Sure,
in the
like,
original
I'm
movie.
just gonna like overall say this. They took. You cannot tell in the trailer, but they took the opportunity to be like, okay, let's take the same story and elevate it and just make it richer, more complex, more fun, more, 2019. And they did that. As opposed to Beauty and the Beast, where they were just like, oh, great, like, we got the Coles notes for this movie, shot for shot. Let's just make it the same as the cartoon and add a weird, like, gay, unresolved homosexual story between LeFou and Gaston, which I thought was bizarre. And so, yeah, they thought they were being super woke. Whereas this, I feel like they just elevated the story and made it so much richer. Loved it.
Yeah, they raised the stakes in very subtle ways, but it made a difference. Beck,
So then
keep your questions coming.
On the questions of raising the stakes, and I'm going to reference a question I already asked, which is, so they've added in the new songs. Did that make the film unnecessarily long, or did it add something important to the story?
Only with Jasmine.
That was the only song they added. It was Speechless.
No.
It's just Speechless comes in and out. See, what they did was there's Speechless appears, because I have now listened to the soundtrack.
No,
many times.
there's other songs they invented for them.
Which one? Prince Ali? Name the other
No,
song.
Aladdin sings a song that's not in the original.
I think it's just a reprise of One Jump. Just so you know, it might not be in the original, but it's not. Anyways, the point is that Speechless comes back and forth like 2 or 3 times, so it's added as a real musical theme as opposed to a random throwaway. And I think it's a strong and catchy enough song. And I think the main scene with Speechless, when she's in the throne room, when she's kind of in her imagination and people are disappearing, to me was one of the most interesting and fun, cool scenes in the movie. So, in fact, if there was anything in the movie that was, I would say, not disappointing, maybe there was just no way to reach the level, it was A Whole New World, was perfunctory.
It was fine.
It was fine, but to me, the peak musical moments came with the big version of Speechless when she's in the throne room, and Prince Ali. Like, those two for me were absolutely like magnificent.
It's almost like the movie's not too long, so it's fine. So it's not like we were sitting there at the end going, well, it would have been great if they took out those characters at those moments. We were like, okay, that's fine, and the length was fine. It's 2 hours.
So you already talked about Will Smith a bit. This article said that he is what held the movie together.
But that's not wrong, but it's also not bad.
Yeah, I mean, you're having a movie where take Robin Williams out of the original Aladdin and tell me if, like,
piece of garbage.
Like,
It's just pretty
boring.
It's
It's
not
just
special.
Gilbert Gottfried playing a parrot, right? Like, so I think Will Smith does hold the movie together, but he is the glue of the movie in a lot of levels, because they also, I think, appropriately gave the genie a better story. Like, they made the genie a real character in this one with his own kind of
prequel and sequel.
Yeah, with his own.
Which that's not something to ruin for Becky because she hasn't seen it, so we don't need to ruin that.
But they gave you a little bit more of the genie that was really satisfying, and it was a lot of fun.
That's great. Now, my last question I have is that one thing you talked about, and this is actually to compare it to the animated version, is that, and this I can't disagree with, which is that in the animated version, Jasmine and Aladdin have these, let's say, put it that every character that's not Jasmine and Aladdin has very exaggerated, shall we say,
Middle Eastern.
Caricature-like or racist caricature-like features of Middle Eastern people, really, except for
the eyebrows.
The eyebrows, the hook nose, like all these things. How was that representation in the film? Was that something that jumped out at you? Did they do that appropriately?
I think the casting is from multiple different backgrounds, like nations and like ethnicities, but the country is not a real country, and it's not clear where it's located. It's like they show you like a fake fantasy map of where these places are. So I think they lean into the fact in the movie that it's a mix of Middle Eastern and Indian culture, because it's not clear that it's just Middle Eastern. And you have actors who are of Iranian descent, Egyptian descent,
and
Canadians.
they weren't using people's.
I don't think so.
I don't want to speak for I don't want to speak for other communities, but what I would say is that like Jafar, who is the victim of that the most in the original film, I've heard a lot of people talk about how like Jafar's like pretty handsome, and they make him quite, you know,
like charismatic
and he's like a little bit like he's almost like a character from Game of Thrones. Like he's like, and he doesn't make like a giant snake. Like his ability to charm people and use his magic is more his thing. But I also think like there are other characters like the captain of the guards for the Sultan and the Sultan who I think are also comically drawn caricatures in the cartoon that are not. They're very honorable characters in the film. I don't want to speak for the looks per se or anything like that, but I think all of those characters are treated with a lot more honor and a lot less goofiness than the original.
I just looked it up. Jafar's super handsome.
Yeah, he's very handsome.
Yeah, no, Jafar's very handsome, and like when he hypnotizes people with his eyes, I'm like, you can hypnotize me, Jafar.
Seriously. And I think that they did a good job by sort of blending in different ethnicities because, like, there's nobody who's Caucasian, which wouldn't make sense. And I feel like that's important. And the fact that they don't all have to be from India, or they don't all have to be from, I don't know, Egypt, because the country that it represents is somewhere in a mix of those cultures, but just not white, which I think is important.
Another interesting thing about Jafar in all of this is that he has more backstory in this, as opposed to just like an ambitious, you know, guy who wants to be the Sultan and wants all the power. He himself has a background that comes with. He himself has a background that is similar to Aladdin's that's revealed.
Actually, there is a white guy in the movie, and they make him into a buffoon.
Oh yeah. In fact, I've heard some people say that they think that he's a little bit of a nod that there's a shared universe with Frozen. That he's like from like kind of like the world of Frozen, because he's like this goofy Norwegian character.
Oh, that's hilarious. I didn't think about that.
All right. Thank you for answering all of my Aladdin questions. And in so doing, giving it a strong endorsement.
I want to make two final points. Number one, there is a character that's added to the film that I want to give the Takedown guys, Craig and John, credit for saying how, I guess in the original, Jasmine spends a lot of time talking to her tiger.
Yeah.
The tiger is just kind of in it a little bit, but isn't really in it. And then what they did was they created a handmaiden character for her, played by Nasim Pedrad, who was on Saturday Night Live.
She's fantastic.
She was like Gina on Brooklyn Nine-Nine is what she was for this movie.
She's also like a bit of a counterpart to the Genie.
Yeah.
Bless you, Becky.
Yeah.
Here she goes. Bless you. She's like a good kind of she's a counter.
And she's tremendous charisma, and she's so funny, and she adds, I think, a ton to what is in some ways it's a romantic comedy, right? Like in my view, and this is my other point I wanted to make, is in some ways Aladdin, when you have Will Smith in it, is really Hitch with really great Disney songs, and I love Hitch.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Who doesn't love Hitch?
Because he also
show me the person who doesn't love Hitch.
I also don't know. I don't remember, Becky. Maybe you remember, if in the original cartoon is the Genie like so much like reinforcing the fact of like she has to love you for you.
1,000,000%.
Is it? I didn't remember.
Keep telling her you have to tell her the truth. You have to tell her the truth. She needs to love who you are.
Yeah, right.
That's definitely like a big theme.
Yeah, that they keep that.
He's like, yeah.
And having the Dahlia character, the handmaiden, it sort of like mirrors Jasmine doing the same thing, of her friend being like, you know, you got to be true, and like kind of like you kind of see it on both sides. Can I just say that I think the costuming was really important and beautiful, because again, it mixed a whole bunch of cultures, so it's not like clearly kind of pinpoint that this is one specific culture they have to perfect and copy. It mixed a bunch of cultures, and they also did not have her in that that horrendous like halter belly top bikini thing that so many girls like try to copy for sexy Halloween costumes, which is like a bikini top with sleeves and then those like parachute pants. They had her in beautiful, like appropriate, sexy but classy attire,
and
which I
but
appreciate.
in the classic color.
In the color, and her blue, that like aquamarine blue color, which is gorgeous on her. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. But without like unnecessarily making her look like Leia in the bikini shot of Star Wars.
Yeah, totally. So it was awesome, and I would say the Prince Ali number, which is a number I like barely remember from the cartoon, was absolutely
That was stunning.
How do you not
amazing.
remember that?
It's not. Yeah, but that's kind of like stupid. But in this, it's like Moulin Rouge. It's so cool.
Yeah, that one just blew my mind.
And Will Smith was so funny.
I think I remember.
He's like rapping
I think
and
I
just being
remember the
himself.
songs. I think I just remember the songs much better because I'm younger and it really was like a movie of my youth.
And Will Smith is awesome in it, and he's Will Smith as the genie, as opposed to Robin Williams. And every once in a while,
Will Smith as Genie is a great call though.
and
There's only one person that could have done it, I think, and that's Will Smith. There's nobody remotely that could make it their own without overshadowing the original.
And I just like
and
don't
bring originality
like a
to it.
character like like Jim Carrey would just kind of make it like sad or cynical.
It'd be too much of a character.
or again, I heard the Take Two podcast guys. They talked about a Sacha Baron Cohen and a Jack Black, and how those guys just would have been like Robin Williams, and that
Or
would have
like
worked.
Josh Gad.
Yeah, Josh Gad would have been all
the
off.
Disney movies.
Yeah,
I
just
just need to
like
give a little
bringing
bit of
Josh
His
Gad.
like contract that he needs to be in all Disney remakes.
I
Disney
think
films
we should give some credit to the director Guy Ritchie
Oh,
because
yeah.
he kept the pace fast.
Who was the Guy Ritchie?
It doesn't lag.
Interesting.
I saw it in 3D. I don't know if I told you that. It was the only time the slot that we could
As
go
a
to.
child?
No, it was
Was
like
that at a Dolby theater? Because I only see movies in Dolby now.
no, it was at like
Hashtag
some.
We
Dolby
saw it
Sound.
in a Dolby theater. It was unbelievable, Becky.
No, I saw it at
was
some like,
unbelievable.
Center City, Philadelphia
Well, I
theater.
can't see it until I go to a Dolby theater now. Oh, I ate so much.
So I can't put you on mute because he's recording both of us.
Becky's just having like gurgling stomach moves.
Just ate so much
Okay,
pizza.
just simmer down. And so put yourself on mute. How about that? And so, yeah, I thought I got used to the 3D very quickly. It's completely unnecessary, but it was fine. It was annoying at first, but then it was perfectly fine. But I did find that a lot of the time the characters looked like they were in fast forward, which is a very Guy Ritchie thing to do.
He did that a couple of times, but he didn't Guy Ritchie up the movie.
Not too much, but then I was like, and there he is. There's Guy Ritchie.
He did it during the shook
fast forward.
scenes, during the market scenes, or some of the action scenes. That was fine.
But it was fine. I think he did a great job because the movie doesn't lag. It's like a good pace.
Yeah. When in doubt, fast forward the movie. It's Guy Ritchie's move. All right, so the other movie we're going to talk about today it's like a movie that's become really special to me, and it is called Eliza Sherman's Revenge. It's starring Jackie Geary, who I know as one of the characters and real life people that appears in the Goldner. So she was a childhood friend of Adam F. Goldberg's, but then plays the mother of that person on the TV show as well, who is a tremendously funny woman who has been in NCIS, which our mom watches, and Lucifer and 13 Reasons Why, and she's a writer and a producer, and of course an actor. And through the Goldner's podcast, the recent episode, which I encourage people to listen to, she enabled us, with the support of Greg Fitzsimmons, the writer and director of the movie, to see this film, Eliza Sherman's Revenge, which has not been released. They gave us a special link, and we were able to watch it. And I really, really love this movie. I think it was so funny, and it's one of these things where this is the kind of indie stuff I want to see on Netflix and the streaming platforms. And I'm like slightly enraged that it hasn't happened yet, but maybe by talking about it more, we'll be able to help. In any event, you guys got a chance to see it. I know Lily at least saw it, and I have already raved about it. So on a previous episode. So I would love to know your impressions.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm just going to start by saying that I watched it with our parents. and I turn it. I couldn't get it on the TV, so I put it on my phone, and I just like mirrored it to the Apple TV so I could watch Vimeo. It's on Vimeo.
Oh, and so just to recap quickly, should I recap the plot quickly?
No, don't recap the plot. Let me tell my story, and then you can recap the plot.
Sounds good. I just wasn't sure if it was needed for your story.
It's not. So I go to, so it's on my phone. It's playing on my phone, and I just send it to the Apple TV. So it starts on Vimeo on the Apple TV, and we're sitting there, and like, it begins, it's like, it takes place in LA, and it looks like really hot, and it begins with a woman who looks like she's trying to sell a house. And so I was like, oh, okay, should I explain the plot to me? But I guess maybe she's like a real estate agent or something, and he didn't need to say that. So she's setting up this house. She's a very large woman, and she's setting up this house to look nice for a sale, but the thermostat is broken, and it's like 95 degrees in the house, and she's baking cookies. And so the house gets hotter and hotter, and then you can see someone cutting down she's maybe in her 50s, and then a guy is outside on cutting down a palm tree, like this young guy who's like super sexy, and she comes outside all sweaty, and Mom goes to me, what? This doesn't look like it's the plot that you told me it was. I'm like, well, Shai gave me a very like loose plot. Just watch. Like, obviously it's going to make sense. And then she goes back inside and she starts stripping off her clothes, and her like busty boobs are all sweating with like sweat down them. And the guy in the tree starts eyeing her, and they start making love eyes to each other.
What movie did you put on?
And I go, hold up. And it was 100% the wrong video. And Mom and Dad are both sitting there being like, what kind of schlocky, like, softcore porn are you forcing us to watch for your podcast? And I was like, I don't understand. Shai, on my fucking phone, it was playing the real movie. And it said, like, sharing to the TV. And on the it just decided to put porn on. Like, it was so awkward. I was like, guys, hold up. And I was like, oh my God, this is why this makes no sense. Turn off the TV altogether, because I was like, my eyes.
I mean, you just got to throw the TV out at that point.
I nearly had to. And then, surprisingly, that's when Dad got up and was like, I think I'm just going to go watch TV on my iPad. And so he left. And then I restarted the app. Like, I had to shut down everything, restart the app on my phone, start on the TV, and then sent it, and then it was the actual movie. And then Mom fell asleep maybe after like 15 minutes, so I just watched it by myself. I was like, I can't say for sure if I liked the movie, but I did fall asleep.
Well, but in our family, falling asleep during a movie is first of all like a compliment, because...
And it's also not
indicative of whether or not.
Right. They can definitely like the movie for sure anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it was definitely, I thought it was great, and I thought it was something that 100% with stuff like Russian Doll on Netflix and stuff that's a bit out there and doesn't really need an explanation, dark comedy with like possible some funny gore stuff. Like, I don't see why this movie wouldn't be picked up and like easily shown to people of our generation, because it was quite hilarious to anybody. I think if you grew up maybe like 90s, for sure.
Yeah, so the plot of the movie is there's a woman who is 10 years after college, gathering all of her college roommates who were apparently very mean to her and getting revenge on them, only she has since been imbued with magic powers, which when they reveal where she got them and how she got them is pretty funny, so I won't reveal it in the movie, but I thought that was one of the funniest lines and moments in the movie. And it's not like there's a lot of special effects. It's mostly these annoying people coming to a dinner party, and they think that the party is a birthday party for Richard Grieco, and then one by one,
which is like so random and amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And
I loved him when I was a kid.
And also,
I don't know who this person is.
Richard Grieco, star of If Looks Could Kill.
I said to Becky, If Looks Could Kill.
Anyway, so Richard, also
Which, by the way, for me, it made it really funny that they were all very obsessed that this person be there, and I was like, that's a great name. I don't know who you are.
and also there's just these great.
I thought it was a made-up celebrity. No,
There's also these great bits of the mean friends, because they're not really her friends. These mean people haven't seen her in 10 years.
They're like frenemies.
They don't believe that she knows Richard Grieco, and so they start quizzing her on how she met him, and she starts giving these answers like, I met him. He's late. He's late to the party because he doesn't show up to the party because he's playing paddle tennis with Jonah Hill. That's hilarious to me.
Yeah, there's some good lines.
And
I like the part where the funny, a small line but made me laugh very hard when one of them was like, smells like mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, when they talk about all the mean things they say about there's so many great little lines that I think just kind of they fire at you and they just make me laugh out loud throughout it. And then it gets a little bit supernatural because at a certain point in it she uses her magic powers, and then it gets a little bit gory. There's a couple of really random gore things, but to me it kind of reminded me of something like The Good Place, where there or Defending Your Life, where there's there's a morality tale or a personal growth
and Russian
tale.
Doll, which I think is awesome because this was made before that, and there's a similar strain.
But I was thinking the time jump stuff reminded me of Future Man.
Okay, I get it, but all that's so right. All these things are they're things that bend genres in a way where you're learning about. You're exploring friendship and you're exploring personal growth, but these kind of odd, almost like sci-fi fable moments to it that really, really, really tickled my imagination. And I thought the funny was, and I thought the jokes were just so funny. It also reminded me of this movie from a long time ago called Living in Oblivion. Do you guys remember that movie?
Oh yeah.
With Steve Buscemi and Peter Dinklage. And Dermot Mulroney. But most important of all, for you guys, there is a reference to none other than Outlander.
In the movie?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Absolutely. I even wrote down the time mark.
When was it?
It's at the hour and 8-minute mark. Bethany and Tyler, her I think it's her husband, and her husband there's something about their sex lives that they're referred to, and she tells him to speak in a Scottish accent and let him call her Jamie. Let her call him Jamie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right.
I thought an Outlander reference would very much be great. I also like that they talked about how everyone hates Cider House Rules. That was a great moment. In any event,
that's how she gets fired from Miramax.
Oh yeah.
She says Miramax,
Have we told that story on the podcast, Shy, that you and Lily both thought the name of the movie was The Cider House Rules?
The Cider House Rules.
Not the Cider House.
So
I didn't get that it was the rules for the Cider House.
So if you're listening to this film, we have a tremendous. If you're listening to this podcast, we have a tremendously cool opportunity for you. We would love for more people to see Eliza Sherman's Revenge. And the filmmakers, Jackie and Greg, have said that if you reach out to us and tweet, I'm going to go with the hashtag #ReleaseEliza. So, release Eliza.
Right.
And you tweet at us or direct message us, we will be able to share the link to this film with you and the password, and you'll get a chance to see it. And it hasn't been released, and it's a really charming, fun movie. Lily, Beck, we've described a bunch of things. If you were to give a reference for what films people like that would mean they would also like this one, what would you say?
Well, Mom thought it reminded her of the Evil Dead play, Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, the Evil Dead the musical?
Evil Dead the musical is what Mom thought it reminded her of.
It has funny sex jokes, and it has a little bit of violence.
A little bit.
A little small bit of violence, not Evil Dead violence.
Not Evil Dead violence, but I think also maybe the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know why. There's just sort of this hilarious nod to movies where there's superpowers or whatever that don't really make sense. It's also kind of like one of those movies that's like a play. Everybody's in the same room in the same location. conversation the whole time, in that sense. And you just, I don't know. I think if you grew up in the 90s, is it probably just a good prerequisite?
Yeah, I guess it has a little bit of, in that, the way that the dialogue goes, it's got a little bit of Kevin Smithishness to it. The pop culture references, the fast-moving dialogue,
and also, like, the random supernatural stuff that's never explained and doesn't matter. It's not the point.
Right, exactly.
I was going to say, like the sort of glazing over that is what's funny.
Right, exactly.
But, like, we don't need to know the rules. It's fine.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. The rules are that there are superpowers in this for a few moments of the movie, but the point of the movie is really the friendships and the relationships. Okay, well, anyways, Eliza Sherman's Revenge. Bye. Get in touch with us. Tweet with the hashtag #ReleaseEliza, and we will get in contact with you privately and share you a link. And a huge thanks to Jackie Geary, star of the film.
Yes, thank you,
Awesome
Jackie.
Awesome.
And Greg.
And Greg Fitzsimmons, who is the writer, director, producer. And to my Gold Nerds buddies, Ash and Lance, who helped get, who were a part of watching this film.
And I just want to say that I think one of the key aspects of the movie is Jackie Geary's deadpan. Like, her just sort of like not breaking versus, I don't know, just that dry wit I thought was really
right. She's not helpless, and she's not crazy. She's just like pissed off.
Yeah,
she's just like annoyed and going through some processing. In fact, in some ways I thought Becky would really identify with Jackie.
I don't want to be rude. I definitely was like, Becky, I will identify with this movie.
There is a point in my life where I would say we shared some characteristics.
I could see Becky getting magic powers and gathering a few people together for a party.
To 100% punish them.
To mutilate them?
To punish them.
Mutilate them.
But just till they said sorry.
Yeah. By the way, it's not a sad movie. It's a overall pretty happy movie. Oh, and also a nod to Jackie's real life husband, Jameson Haas, who plays her love interest in the film.
Jeff, right?
Yeah, that was great. Okay, let's get to shout outs and recommendations and the like. Sisters?
I'm gonna go ahead and recommend Fleabag again. In case people didn't listen to last week's episode, or the one we recently dropped, or the week before. I don't know, but Danielle Stein, shout out to her she texted me being like, "Thank you for mentioning that show," and then proceeded to tell me that season 2 is even better than season 1. So I have yet to see it, but now I'm really excited to download it for my plane ride, because season 1 I thought was not perfect, but I feel like a show, it doesn't need to be perfect. It was original and dark and funny and emotional, and I was like, good enough. It was really, really interesting, and I was captivated. So I'm really excited for season 2, and I have one more episode of Catastrophe left. I'm like holding on to that. I never finished the last episode of Parks and Rec because I don't want it to be over.
It's really a perfect episode.
That's her. I've never heard the last REM song.
REM album, we know.
They were bonus. They were like extra tracks on the greatest hits.
So
I've heard the last album.
I'm like, no, you have to finish Catastrophe, and I love that show. I was talking about it with Mom. She's like, I only ever saw like the first season. The woman in the show is such an asshole. I was like, she is.
But she's so funny.
So, yeah.
It's so obvious it barely even feels like a wreck, but on Netflix, Always Be My Maybe. So charming.
I talked about that on the last episode of our podcast, but you weren't not on then.
Where was I?
At an engagement party in Los Angeles.
But Always Be My Maybe. I haven't seen it yet, but I think that's another ringing endorsement.
Allie right now. Hang up the phone and watch it with Allie.
Friggin' cute.
I will see it as soon as I can.
Best Keanu performance.
Best Keanu
since Bill and Ted.
Best Keanu storyline.
That's what I said when I talked to you.
Epic. Whoever came up with that and then got him to do it, it was one of the most magical 15 minutes of cinema of my life.
Becky's 100% accurate.
All right. So Keanu, all right. And I've got a few shout outs. Number one, I mentioned them already.
Go Ali Wong. You got to make out with Keanu Reeves.
That's what she said on her Instagram.
Trying to make out are some pretty special men in this movie.
That's pretty awesome. I will shout out to Craig and John and Brian and Tony of the Take Two podcast guys. I mentioned them earlier. They're going to be at All-Star Comic-Con as well this weekend. They're going to be at the fancy CW booth. They're kind of on the other end of a row where we are. So where our table is, we'll be able to see them from across the room. They're going to be at the fancy CW booth. But there's a few things. They are avid listeners to our podcast, which
and they're
awesome.
Going to be like, oh, I wish we could be next to the Friday Night Movie booth.
And Craig, first of all, writes to say that he is 100% with me on Brenda and Dylan. And I think
that's bullshit. That's not a thing.
It's because he's a sensitive guy. I think he understands.
No.
You know, he understands.
They were not
emotions.
good together.
And
No,
they don't. Kelly and Dylan.
And
yeah.
Lil, we were talking about. I forget. You and I were talking about an all-star cast on another episode, and Craig wants to talk with us at All-Star Comic-Con about all-star casts that shit the bed. So, like, when there's a movie.
Hello, what was that movie that I hated?
Okay, we have to narrow it down.
The Netflix movie with Oscar Isaac.
Oh yeah. Triple threat, whatever.
Triple night.
Triple H.
Triple sec.
No, Craig and I were talking about the movie Abandoned with Katie Holmes, okay? That was filmed at McGill, where we went to college when we were there. Go look up the cast of that movie right now. Just go look it up. It'll be worth it.
I feel like Katie Holmes does not constitute an all-star cast.
Just Google it and look up the cast, though. Anyways, the point is that he wants to come and talk with us about all-star casts that shit the bed. So if you guys, we'll do our homework, and if people have any ideas for us to raise this weekend when we're taping nonstop, please send them our way, because we're going to talk about that this weekend. And then finally, I am on a Gilmore Girls Odyssey in Star Hollow or Mystic Pizza or wherever the heck it takes place. And I am about 7 episodes into the first season. So I have a tradesies that I'm doing with Gilmore Girls. I'm watching Gilmore Girls, and this other person is watching Chuck. And I am now 7 episodes into Gilmore Girls. Now, what brought about this... It's really anyways, I'm 7 episodes into Gilmore Girls, and here are some observations of the show. Number 1, there's at least 3 characters named Lorelai.
Yes, that is correct, I think.
They talk a lot in that show.
They're very fast talkers.
There's a lot of fast
drink a lot of coffee.
Very... Well, I was going to say Aaron
talk about coffee. There are certain... they're very...
So you realize it's the same woman that makes Maisel, right?
No, it was a Maisel conversation that led me to Gilmore Girls, because I was defending the honor of Joel Maisel's character arc.
No, I gotta tell you, I never watched the series Gilmore Girls, but then they did Netflix did one additional season.
Yeah.
And I watched that random season and loved it, but I didn't
Everybody
watch
who
the
watched
rest
the
of
Gilmore Girls hated it.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
But Shy.
So Lauren Graham is just awesome. She's super talented. She's super
fantastic,
funny.
But doesn't it bother you that Melissa McCarthy's not as funny as she could be on that show?
Well, in some ways, I feel like you're seeing also her voice is totally different.
Yeah.
You're seeing Melissa McCarthy as a working actress before she's Melissa McCarthy.
And there's they literally had such a sleeper, sneak attack, incredible weapon that nobody was using.
Yeah, I mean, she played, and I would say so far, mostly what her character does is cook things.
Right. They had probably one of the funniest human beings on the planet on their show for years. How embarrassed are you that you didn't realize that you made that show?
Well, Lauren Graham went on to lead. She didn't become Melissa McCarthy, but she went on to go be a lead person on Parenthood for another however many years.
100%. So it's recognized that she's a great leading actress. But you literally had Megan from Bridesmaids in your show for 10 years.
That's fair.
And nobody noticed.
Well, to me, it's got that quintessential WB CW look to a show, which I love a CW show, and it definitely has echoes to me of Heart of Dixie and.
For sure. That's why I knew you were gonna like it.
So it's got a little bit. It's got that Heart of Dixie feel to it. So, anyways, Gilmore Girls. I will continue to update people as I watch this show, but so far so good. And with that, let's take it home. Lil, where can people follow you?
Chichi K. Gomez. I need Shy to get my Twitter to work. when I see you tomorrow.
Becky?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter, or at Symphony House in Center City, Philadelphia.
No, you have to take that out. You can't tell people where you live. You just gave them your address. Try clap. You can't tell people where we live.
You can follow me at Paper BK Princess on Twitter.
That's amazing. And you can follow
and
me.
behind the cookies at the grocery store.
Behind
the cookie shelf. She loves cookies.
You can follow me at Pancake for Table on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Friday Night Movie, Fry Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram. And this is it, guys. Last episode. Get your tickets. Last episode. No, sorry, not last episode ever. Last episode before All Star Comic Con.
Don't want to panic anyone, guys. Be careful.
No, this will continue. This show is continuing. In fact, there will be lots of extra show coming to you because we'll be at All Star this weekend at Tyson's Quarter, Virginia. Get your tickets. Kevin, Mike, we're coming to hang with you guys and all the other awesome stuff that's going on there. And with that, the music from What Does It Eat kicks in, and we shall dance and off into the night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well,
the same neck mole.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Shai asked me about it.
Oh, I have it too.
I think I'm going to get mine removed.
I've had the neck mole my whole life.
Shai asked me, and he was like, "Do you need that looked at?"
No, but look.
I'm going to Fanny tomorrow because I feel like there's a black spot on it.
Do you see? I have one too. Wait, all three of us have the same neck mole?
Is it on?
Yeah,
Mine's
but
on the
mine
left.
developed a black spot.
Mine's on the left, but it's like
Mine's
different
on the
than
right.
yours, but it's
Mine's on.
mine's
Yours is flat, Shai. Ours are bumpy.
Mine's like the boil of an old Israeli teacher at Salman Schechter.